Over the past few months, whenever I've felt trapped at home, I'd come out into this wondrous porch in the Berkeley Hills and listen to the songs of the birds. Maybe you can hear them now behind me. The birds remind me of flight, of freedom, of the ability to move freely as we once all did, and hopefully soon we'll be able to do so again. In this week's Parsha, Parshat Bahar, we learn a deep lesson about the connection between birds and freedom. In this week's Parsha, we're introduced to one of the most important revolutions that Judaism brought upon society, the Jubilee, the Yovel, celebrated once every 50 years, where all indentured servants, all indentured laborers were allowed to return home and were freed. This tradition is most famous for being emblazoned on the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, where it says, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants." And this is a verse from this week's Parsha from Leviticus 25. Proclaim liberty, the message of the Liberty Bell. But when we look at the Hebrew word for liberty, we find something unusual. We find an unusual word for liberty, the word dror. We have other words for liberty and freedom in Judaism. We just celebrated the festival of freedom of Passover, which in Hebrew we refer to as Zman Cherutenu. Cherut is a common Hebrew word for freedom. Or chofesh, chofshi, like the summer vacation that is fast approaching, a time of liberty as well. So what does the word dror mean? Well, the one other time in the Torah where the verse is used, it refers to a bird, a sparrow, in Psalm 84, where it says, "Even the sparrow has found a nest for herself." In other words, the dror is a bird who flies around freely, making any place her home. But the connection between birds, freedom, and home and the Jubilee goes deeper. In the Talmud Shabbat, it discusses whether or not you can trap a bird on Shabbat. We know that you can't trap other animals on Shabbat, but what about a bird? Because a bird can still fly when it's trapped. If a bird flies into your home, can you close the door and trap the bird even though it can fly? And the Talmud says that if it's a dror bird, if it is a sparrow, it's okay to trap it. Why? Rava bar Rav Huna says that because the sparrow bird does not accept authority. What does that mean? Rabbi Yishmael taught, why is it called a tzipor dror, a bird of freedom? Because it dwells in a house as it does in a field. So first of all, it connects the word dror to the Hebrew word for dwelling, ladur. But this unique bird, it dwells in the home just as it dwells in the field. In other words, even when it is trapped at home, it flies around from wall to wall and ceiling to floor, never settling still. And so this bird can never be trapped. It is a free bird. And that is why that's why the Jubilee is called a time of liberty, a time of dror. Because it is a time when we are liberated and are able to fly freely wherever we want to with no enclosures. And so I think there's a fascinating lesson to be learned here, that dror can be an attitude, right? That even when we are locked at home in shelters in place, we can still live with the way that we live in the field. We can still find freedom at home. But the Jubilee is not just a mindset. It's also a socioeconomic reality where we allow all laborers to return to their homes who haven't been able to in a while. And I'm taking this lesson to heart with me this week, knowing that there are many people who cannot shelter at home, who don't have a beautiful landscape and birds to listen to that allow them to connect to freedom. And I'm praying and hoping that they too soon will be able to shelter in place when we as a society honor them and proclaim liberty for all. Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful week.